So, good morning and welcome back to Pointing at the Moon, our conversations here in the Peace Pagoda at the Providence Zen Center. This morning we are joined by Kwan Haeng Sunim, JDPSN. Kwan Haeng Sunim is a fully ordained monk here in the Quantum School of Zen for well over 2 decades now, having done his training and resided for many years over in Korea at multiple temples, where he served many roles as Housemaster, head monk, and media master, before eventually coming over here to the United States, where he continued to fulfill those roles here, as well as being one of the core pillars of the Providence Zen Center, even before becoming guiding teacher. So, Kwan Haeng Sunim, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So, boy, you have a rich history behind you, Sunim, between your upbringing, your time in Korea, and your life here at the Providence Zen Center. Let's start with your time growing up in Boston, of all cities. What was that like for you, and how did you encounter the Dharma in Boston, of all places? Did you wake up when someone was yelling at you while driving, or?
I grew up in Roxbury, Boston, Roxbury.
Okay.
Yeah, so Roxbury is in Boston, and it's around Ruggles Street, Dudley Station, and that area there. A lot of people will hear that. Oh, I know him, kind of thing. And you know, I went to Catholic school from the first grade right on up to the 8th, and we had nuns, and the priest was there. We had a church. It was all like on Vernon Street, a block. We had the church, you had the rectory, and you had the convent, and the school, all on that one block. And it was called St. Francis de Sales. And I really enjoyed the nuns there. They were very helpful. And at the time, actually, in Roxbury, they allowed corporal punishment in the in the public schools, and the Catholic schools too. But if you got whacked by one of the nuns, it wasn't like that.
Okay, no ruler across the knuckles kind of thing.
None of that.
Okay,
that was done in the public schools. They didn't. The nuns never did it. They didn't do anything like that at St. Francis de Sales. They gave you a whack. When they did, you deserved it. so that was how that was. And in the public schools, they were quite strict in doing some not so good things, because I talked to some of the kids that were being there. I know one kid came and he had the back of his hands was all mocked up from getting hit in the back of the hand with the ruler, just like what you did. Yeah. So, but they didn't do that at the Catholic school. And like I said, they were good people. But as I grew up, I managed to collect a lot of anger, and so this anger is kind of what spurred me on to practice. But also in my family, my mother and father, they read all the time, so I was always reading. Also, when I started practicing, I really just stopped reading. But before that, when I was young, I did a lot of reading: Dostoevsky, Herman Hesse, and it was all I chose. What I didn't go to college. I read what I liked, and of course I read Malcolm X. And there was a book going around when I was young, Man, Child in the Promised Land, by I forget the author there. So yeah, I did quite a bit of reading when I was younger.
Yeah. How did you encounter the Dharma then? Was it something you read, or was it something that was exposed to you from someplace else?
I was a little bit. I got disillusioned with the Catholic religion, in that it's just, for me, is that I couldn't understand how you could have just one life, and then be born in say Beverly Hills, and another person born in Africa, and they both have the same chance to go to heaven. That didn't work for me. They didn't have the same chance. You know, I don't care. I looked at it; they didn't have the same chance. So that's kind of like what really spurred me on. Because it's funny how that particular thing kind of bothered me. So I talked to priests. I went around and talked to priests, and really got real clear about it, and found that I was a pretty good debater. But nonetheless, at around 14, 15, I stopped. I considered myself, I just stopped doing that. And around that time, Alan Watts was on the radio, so I started listening to Alan Watts. And I think that's kind of how it got started. So I listened to Alan Watts he was on every Sunday on WBCN. It was almost like my instead of going to church, I listened to Alan Watts. And so that went on for a while. And then I kind of, just put that down and went about my business. But at some point, I picked up Taekwondo and started practicing Taekwondo. And we had a nice group together studying Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And then as I was practicing sparring, one day I found that I was getting hit a lot. I was getting hit a lot because I was thinking, if he throws a right, I'm going to throw, he's going to do a roundhouse kick, I'm going to do it. And I was getting mugged all the time. So off to the bookstore I went, and I got the 3 Pillars of Zen, what I got.
By Philip Kapleau, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And what was interesting about that was that at the store there was no lower forms, because it would be really skinny, I guess, if there were lower forms of meditation. So I got that. And I was really inspired by that book. Actually, Kensho and Satori and Sitting Hard. So that's how I started with the Renzai Zen. And I sat hard quite for a good couple years practicing. And while I was practicing, I felt like I had some insight into myself, and so I wanted to do more. And with that, I went back to the bookstore and got the International Buddhist Directory, and there was the school, and they were listed under the A's, even though they had moved to Cambridge. And so for me, I had I had been reading, I read Chinese Mahayana and Vipassana, Insight Meditation, Tibetan. I read all of these things. The last thing I expected to find was Korean Buddhism. So I bought the book, looked under the A's, and there was this Zen Center in Alston. I gave them a call. They said, "Oh, we moved to Cambridge," and it was convenient for me to go there. So I went there. And that was a Quantum School of Zen. That was the Cambridge Zen Center. Yeah.
And here you are.
And here I am. That's why I met Zen Master Seung Sahn.
During that time you were practicing Rinzai, were you practicing with a group, or was it something you were doing
independently?
independently?
That was all on my own.
Okay.
All on my own. Yeah. And so I started sitting every weekend, but every weekend. And I always wished that I could sit the whole weekend, but I could only do a couple hours at a time. It wasn't until I came to a school and here and started doing together action that I could. Then when I was alone, I could actually practice alone. So since then, I've done I think I've done solo retreats, 100-day solo retreats. Yeah. And so without anybody there, and I'm able to sit all day and stuff. But I had to learn that here. Yeah. I had to sit with people and see that what they were doing, and how they did it, before I was able to do it.
In your Inka talk, you mentioned having this PTSD from your childhood or kind of your teenage years and carrying it with you. So you had this anger that you had picked up and developed through your karma. You kind of had this PTSD, which you picked up and developed through your karma. You kind of took that to the Zen Center for the first time. Did you take that also with you to Korea when you first became a monk?
I sure did. So one of the reasons why I became a monk was because the anger just got out of control, in the sense that I'd go into a store and I'd buy something, and then I'd get angry at the person behind the counter, and I didn't even know that person, and so it began, and I began isolating myself, and so what I did is I just dropped everything. And I went to the Providence Zen Center. I told them I wanted to go to Korea and become a monk. And so after a lot of hemming and hawing, they sent me. And what I did is I sat a 90-day kilche and really looked into this anger. And I was actually able to get a handle on it. To say that, I wouldn't say that I don't get angry. I don't know that there's anybody like that. But I got a total handle and understood it. I had 2 people sitting with me, one on my right and one on my left, that I found very annoying. They were just sitting, but I found them very annoying. And so I would get angry with, you know, the way that they were and stuff like that. And so when half of the retreat came, it was 90-day retreat, halfway through the retreat, I had decided that actually that I was going to leave. But I had already quit my job. I cashed in my 401k. I gave my car away. I was up on the mountain, in the mountains in Korea. What was I going to do? But I was so angry I was ready to leave. But then they had the, what we call the intensive week, and Zen Master Bhikku Sunim, Bhikku Sunim came and gave a Dharma talk on the beginning of the intensive week, and he's an old friend of Zen Master Seung Sahn, and that's at the Shinwan Sa, my memory don't know, Shinwan Sa, and so we went there. That's why I went and did that retreat. He was the Zen master at Shinwan Sa, and good friend of Zen Master Seung Sahn. And so he let us, you know, International Zen Center, do sittings there. And so, but halfway through, like I said, I was ready to leave, and he sat there and gave a Dharma talk. And during the Dharma talk, he said, if you have your attention in your head, then you're going to be following your thinking, you know? And then if you have your attention in your chest, you're going to be following your emotions. But if you have your attention in your tanjin, in your center, then you can weather anything. And I'm sitting there and said, well, you know, I got nothing to lose. I'm going to go and try that. And so I sat there. And when I sat there, I went back to sitting. You know, we did the intensive week. That was, you know, you get up at 12 o'clock, practice till 2, and then go back to sleep, and then get up the next morning like you didn't even get up that night. And so while I was sitting there, and of course the anger appeared, and I would just bring myself back to my breathing, breathe in, clear mind with my attention in my belly. And it was just like a rock. And so it's very interesting then to see the anger arise. It didn't fall. And it couldn't do anything to me. The anger couldn't do anything to me. I didn't do, it just was there, but I'd watch it, and it would peak, and then it would fall. And after a while, some of the things that would annoy me didn't annoy me at all. And then I began to see that, and the way, like, it just if I moved and that person did something that made me angry, and I was kind of halfway aware, I didn't get angry, and I'd be saying, I wonder why that is. And what it is because I was making decision to get angry. They weren't making me angry. I was deciding that what they did was and I decided to get angry as a result, which was very interesting to see that. And in that way, I got a total handle on that kind of anger. I mean, I had the kind of anger where you'd be angry all day long, you know? And so, yeah, that's a kind of interesting point.
Yeah, so while training and being a monk in Korea, you were practicing with this anger, you were practicing with your PTSD. But one of the other things unique about you, and I don't have any historical or factual basis for this, but as far as I can tell, you are the first Black man to be ordained as a Korean, quote unquote, Zen monk at the end of the day. Between all of those things you're practicing with, what was your experience being Black in Korea during this time?
Yeah, but I got to tell you that it was interesting because I was in the cafeteria one time, and then somebody came over to me and said, yeah, you know, you're probably the only Black person in Korea.
In Korea, period.
And I said, yeah, you know, that's true. And I'm over here nodding my head. And then, you know, there was this really clear Bolsani, and it was a close friend of Zen Master Seung Sahn, and she looked at me and she said, oh, look at those guys over there, and they were from Nepal. They were monks from Nepal. They were like much darker than I was. You say you're Black? So very interesting that and well timed. So it says a lot about how we think and how we keep our mind, and this thing of just seeing things as they are is quite an important thing to cut through this anger and hatred that's going around. And for me, I really believe that that there's so much anger, so much hatred going around that it's and division and so forth and so on, that people are not really going to be able to get together short of a spiritual kind of a thing. And so in order for that spiritual kind of a thing to happen is that the religions, all of them, got to stop fighting. It's kind of interesting. It doesn't make a lot of sense for that. That's not going to happen. But if they can, you know, like if you've got a group of people that, and then be spiritual with those people, show them, you know, about how that they're connected to the universe, and it's not just about you; it's about us, and that includes the climate, the water, and so forth and so on. So it's important to see that, and then through that you can connect with any other group, any other religion, and do together action about the climate and so forth and so on. But if you're gonna start putting stakes in the ground and say this is my group and then we'll never get there. We'll never get there. We're just going to destroy ourselves.
What brought you back to America after being in Korea for so long?
Oh, Providence Zen Center. Yeah, it's just Zen Master Seung Sahn, who is my teacher, my Unsasanim. He's a spiritual leader now at Seung Sahn. I believe, though he's kind of retired, I think Tanwell Zen Master is might be the leader now these days. But yeah, he asked me to come here, and I at first I didn't want to because I was doing some nice sitting in Korea, and then after about a year, I went to him and said, okay, I don't mind to come here. So that's kind of how that was.
Well, you've been working a lot of jobs both in Korea and over here in America, between not just being a practicing monastic, but also, you know, media manager, head monk, head Dharma teacher, kitchen master, yada, 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 yada. Is there one of those jobs that you really, really actually found yourself enjoying more than you thought you would? And is there one that if you could put it down, you'd be happy never to touch it again kind of thing?
Yeah, yes, I can answer both those questions. The best job I had was the Sunday class. I loved that Sunday class. And I tell you, for years I did that, and you can count the times I missed it on one hand. For years that I went with that Sunday class. And then the thing that I'd be happy to put down is the media stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'd be happy to put that down. In fact, I did for a while, but I'm now back doing it again.
So it's funny, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they were expressing a certain, I'm not sure if nostalgia is the right word, but they sort of missed in a certain way being able to just practice and focus on practicing without also being part of the whole administrative, you know, framework of like all the business and all the like extra stuff that goes into supporting and maintaining a temple. You've had your fingers in a lot of different pies, both in practice and outside of it. Is that a sense you ever get that you miss just being able to practice without being involved with all the management and administrative stuff?
I do miss that.
Yeah.
And it is understood that actually people who come here to practice, if they're not on staff, they have a better experience. that's how that is. So I actually planned to sit a retreat in Korea. So that's my plan, to get away from the administration stuff, all of that.
Well, beyond sitting a retreat in Korea, one of the things you've done is you've sat multiple 100-day solo retreats. Tell us a little bit about why you chose to do it and what the experience is like, sitting alone in silence during winter for 100 days.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, there's I've done 3 of them. Okay. And,
3 more than me.
and each one is very, very different. So it's the first one I did a Kilche, a 90-day Kilche up at the monastery, and then I did this 100-day solo. That was too soon, and I suffered. But you know, from that suffering. That was my best practice. I got so much insight from that. But boy, did I suffer. And if you can do it, a solo retreat is certainly a good thing to do. But before you do that, I would suggest you do a couple 90-day retreats, and then you do that. But at the end of the day, if you can do one, but never think that I'm just going to do this solo retreat and that's going to be the end of it. So a solo retreat is good with consistent practice. So you come out of the solo retreat, and before you go in there, you're practicing. Before you go in there, you're practicing when you get out of that. Because the most important thing is consistency. And if you're not consistent, if all you do is a 100-day retreat, you're not going to be able to bring it into your day-to-day life, which is what this is about. This is, I think some people have the idea that they're just going to come here and get enlightenment and then float out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Been nice knowing you. And another thing, I'm not sitting anymore. That doesn't happen.
No attainment, nothing to attain. Yep, all good.
No, so it's consistent practice. Even Zen Master Seung Sahn, after he got enlightened, practiced. And why did he practice? He practiced for us. He practiced for us. And that's a really important part of the practice, is practicing for other people and helping other people to practice through showing them how to practice. You know, something that happened to me is I was in Korea, and we would go to a movie as a group, and then what happened is that you had to decide the movie. And that would be a bit of a trip, but after a while you learn just to put it down and go. And as a real result of that, I would go to movies that I'd never seen before, and also to meals, because the people want to bring you out to meals and feed you. But a lot of us were just comfortable sitting in the monastery. We didn't want to come out and go, but they wanted to bring you to lunch, so you go to lunch. And so, you encounter a lot of different food and so forth. But the main thing is you put down your opinion, your likes and your dislikes. And actually, you find that you can quite enjoy yourself. And you can enjoy the people around you. If you don't have all these ideas, if you just let it go and be with the people.
So we're living in a time where there's a lot of suffering in the world, and there's always been suffering in the world. I remember Daebong Sanim once getting a question about, what do you think of all the suffering going on in the world? And he responded with, nothing's changed. Greed, ignorance, and delusion are still driving things. But, we had that terrible bridge collapse. Terrifying to think about being a car on that bridge. That just happened a couple days ago. And we're entering into an election season where people's passions, thoughts, and ideas are going to be very strong and very, very high. And, we're going to see a lot of conflict occur out of it. As someone who's, been practicing with anger and PTSD and kind of being in all these situations where you had to learn to put things down, what advice do you have for everyone in the world right now going into and living in this time period we find ourselves in?
One thing is that you need to look inside and have some understanding about how things work, how your mind works, because your mind and my mind are same, okay? So, we both hear that. What hears that, okay? So then you need to, I feel people need to look at that. And if they don't look at that through Zen or Buddhism, you can do it through the Catholic religion, you can do it through the Muslim religion, you can do it through Hinduism. All of these ways that to look at yourself and have some understanding, and have this understanding that it's not just me, not just I, but it's us. It's an us, and that us includes the water and the air and the environment. So you can help all of that. You can help all of that. And so the thing with the Providence Zen Center is that it's like we give you the tools to practice, to look inside. But everybody's karma is different. So when it comes time to help, you got 10 people there, and you tell them you should go out and help. They're going to help in 10 different kinds of ways. Do 10 different kinds of ways of helping people. And so I can't tell somebody how they should help or what they should do, but they should look inside and find that karma, find that predisposition, right, of how they could help, and then go and do that. My predisposition really is to practice and help other people practice, and to point out that the connectedness of us all, of all human beings, of all sentient beings, you know, and our connection to the world. Our connection don't stop with that. It is the forest, the sea, the ocean, the world, the universe, okay? That's all actually true, and you can, we can talk about it in all kinds of words, but to actually look and see that, to feel that for yourself, have that experience is what is important. Not my words. It's important that you have that experience.
So one last question for you then, maybe a bit of a fun one. A lot of people have an idea of a monk as your whole life is you're just sitting in meditation and then you eat in total silence. But you have some downtime, you have some hobbies, you have some likes and dislikes. What do you, Kwan Haeng Sunim, like to do?
I like videos. I like watching videos. I mean, like I said, I used to read a lot, but I dropped that because I didn't want to sit in a Dharma room and have all this stuff. The Zen Master said this, and that Zen Master said that. So I just stopped reading. But there's nothing like a good action film. I loved action films. Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. Come practice at Providence Zen Center and then take Kwan Haeng Sunim out to go see a good movie.
Good movie. I'll be happy to go.
Well, Kwan Haeng Sunim, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
You're welcome.
And thank you all for listening. This has been Pointing at the Moon, our conversations here at the Peace Pagoda at Providence Zen Center. If you'd like to help support us, you can do so financially online through providencezen.org and leaving a donation for us. Our entire practice schedule is online as well, and we welcome and invite you to come and practice and encounter the Dharma here at Providence Zen Center. If you're not local to the area, check out Quantum School of Zen online. You'll be able to find a Zen center that is close and accessible to you. And if not, we have a vibrant online Sangha that you'll be able to connect with. So thank you again.